During the plane crash, my pilot husband looked torn between me and his childhood sweetheart. Without hesitation, I thrust the last parachute into their hands. In our past life, after agonizing deliberation, he gave the parachute to pregnant me while staying aboard the doomed plane to die with his first love. But their planned romantic death never happened. She perished in the crash while he miraculously survived. From that day on, my husband stayed by my side every day. Eagerly awaiting the birth of our child, my heart was full of joy, until our baby's 1-month celebration, when he smothered our child right before my eyes. If you hadn't insisted on coming, there wouldn't have been one less parachute on that plane. You took my true love from me. Today, you'll know this agony too. Overwhelmed by grief, I chose to perish together with him. When I opened my eyes again, I'd somehow returned to the day of the plane crash. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. Secure your own life vests and avoid crowding. The familiar voice pulled me back from darkness. Instead of rushing for the life vest or parachute, my hands instinctively cradled my abdomen. My child is still safe and sound over there. As I stood frozen, a hand patted my shoulder. Looking up startled, I saw the chief stewardess of this luxury flight. She took one look at my dazed expression and rolled her eyes contemptuously. The captain said civilians should evacuate first. As his wife, "You'll stay behind with the crew." I paused briefly before giving a different answer than in my past life. I'm just a regular passenger on this flight. Why should I take on crew responsibilities? The chief purser watched my reaction, her lips curling in contempt. Everyone knows you tagged along shamelessly just to keep an eye on Miss Sue. We already have kids, yet you're still green with jealousy every day. You took Miss Sue's spot, forcing her to squeeze into the cockpit. Let me spell it out for you. We're now one life vest short on this flight. With that, the chief steward finished adjusting her uniform and resumed checking passengers' preparations. Meanwhile, I remained seated, overwhelmed by mixed emotions. I can't believe I've been reborn back to this very moment. In my past life, my pilot husband Zhao Minglang also broke protocol to bring his unattainable crush Su Jinma aboard. But I was oblivious. I boarded this flight simply because I coincidentally had a meeting in the same city. When I snatched up the last ticket last minute, Su Jinma, who'd gotten on board free through pilot privileges, had no choice but to reluctantly squeeze into the cockpit. But this meant one extra passenger on board, leaving us one life jacket short. After the crash, unaware of the truth, I intended to stay till the end to live or die with Zhao Minglang. Yet at the critical moment, Zhao Minglang clenched his teeth and gave me the last life jacket. As tears of gratitude streamed down my face, these were his words: "Anru, please raise our child alone. Tell him his father died a hero." He hurried me into the life vest and parachute harness, but the moment he pushed me out of the plane, I heard him whisper to his beloved Su Jinma, "My Jasmine, though we couldn't share life, sharing death is its own kind of happiness." To everyone's dismay, Su Jinma perished in the crash while Zhao Minglang emerged miraculously unscathed. Yet later, this man who made me tell our child he was a heroic father smothered my 1-month-old daughter right before my eyes. The memory of that chilling scene still makes me tremble uncontrollably. It was his own choice to die for love, his decision to save me, his damned violation of protocol that left one extra person on that plane. So why in the end must my child pay with her life for his precious white moonlight? What crime has my child committed? What crime have I committed? I merely happened to purchase the last ticket. Why must I suffer this fate? Trembling from haunting memories, I heard the chief steward sneer as she passed by. "Some captain's wife you are, quaking like a leaf, pathetic compared to our Jinma." I didn't argue, just wiped away a tear from the corner of my eye. It's true, in the eyes of all Zhao Minglang's friends and colleagues, I could never measure up to Su Jinma. Su Jinma was once crowned the most beautiful flight attendant in their crew, seemingly more suited to be with Zhao Minglang, the captain, yet it was Su Jinma herself who vanished without a word after meeting some tycoon in first class, which led Zhao Minglang to marry me instead. At this thought, a sharp pain pierced through my chest again. Perhaps they'd long grown weary of me wedged between them, preferring death together over enduring my presence even one more day. As the plane lurched violently, I white-knuckled the armrests, barely managing to stay upright. The passengers' screams grew shriller when the flight attendant's announcement finally crackled through. "The aircraft has descended to evacuation altitude. All passengers with life vests, please begin queuing for orderly evacuation." I turned back in panic, watching the crowd leap out one by one before me, my fingernails digging crescents into my palms. Amid the chaos, Zhao Minglang's voice rang out above me, and Ro, who authorized you to follow? I've already married you, what more could you possibly be unhappy about? It's because of you that there's one less life vest on this plane, tell me yourself, what am I supposed to do now? Zhao Minglang's voice carried a hint of hoarseness and hesitation as he spoke these final words. This brought back memories of my past life. In my past life, watching Zhao Minglang shield Su Jinma beside him, the truth hit me instantly. Through tears, I demanded an explanation from him, yet he offered no explanation, only coldly strapped a life vest on me before shoving me out of the plane. Now as I gaze upon this picture-perfect couple before me, nothing but bitter laughter rises in my throat. The husband I'd loved wholeheartedly and cared for all these years has revealed himself to be utterly despicable. With decisive movements, I pulled out the last life-saving kit and placed it gently into Zhao Minglang's hands. Since that's how you feel, you'd better put on this life jacket. Run along now, Zhao Minglang, take your precious Moonlight with you. Zhao Minglang's face twisted in disbelief. And Ro, what's your game? Since when did you become so generous? You're definitely plotting something. What's your real agenda? He shielded Su Jinma behind him like protecting priceless treasure, as if I were handing him not a life jacket but a bomb that could kill his beloved. Meeting Zhao Minglang's shocked and furious gaze, I simply shook my head slightly. This plane is going down, Zhao Minglang. I'm giving you the last life jacket so you can make up for failing to save your white Moonlight. So in your eyes, this kind of act counts as scheming. Zhao Minglang stared at me intensely, his eyes swirling with emotions I couldn't decipher. In the suffocating silence, Su Jinma suddenly burst into tears. Brother Minglang, I know I was wrong boarding without a ticket, but since sister's willing to let us go first, we should hurry. That sister could marry you proves she's blessed. Besides, we're of one mind, neither wants to escape alone. This is truly the best way. Hearing Su Jinma's sobs, Zhao Minglang abruptly averted his gaze from me as if electrified, his hands trembling slightly. He swiftly fastened the life vest onto Su Jinma. You're right, Amber's got 9 lives, she'll be just fine. With that, Zhao Minglang crouched down and unabashedly inspected Su Jinma's gear right before my eyes. Satisfied, he wrapped his arm around the woman's slender waist. Under my silent gaze, the two vanished abruptly before me. The once stable aircraft now tumbled like a torn plastic bag caught in a storm. I pursed my lips, gripping the seat beside me as I inched my way into the cockpit. So this is why Su Jinma loved hiding here. The cockpit was far more spacious than I'd imagined. Though Zhao Minglang and I had been married for years, every time I asked to visit the cockpit, his face would darken with refusal. You're not crew, what gives you the right to enter the cockpit? That's all critical equipment in there. Do you really think you could afford to pay for damages if you broke something? After being scolded by him so many times, I simply gave up on the idea, too. Never did I imagine in this lifetime I'd get another chance to enter the cockpit, to step into Zhao Minglang and Su Jinma's love nest. Groping my way into the captain's seat, I let out a self-deprecating chuckle. Right in front of this seat was a sticker bearing Su Jinma's name. I'd only ever heard of boyfriends labeling car seats as girlfriend's throne. Today I witnessed something next level, at such close range. Zhao Minglang had brazenly turned the cockpit into his love shrine for Su Jinma. I reached to tear off that glaring sticker, only to notice tiny words beneath it upon closer inspection. If we cannot share a bed in life, let us share a grave in death. Suddenly feeling an itch on my face, I wiped it, only to realize they were my own tears. So they had long sworn an oath to live and die together. My heart turned to ashes. Watching the approaching sea through the windshield, I simply closed my eyes. In the pitch darkness, countless memories flooded my mind. Zhao Minglang and I weren't exactly lovebirds, but we maintained mutual respect like courteous guests. Everything changed when Su Jinma, freshly heartbroken, ran sobbing into Zhao Minglang's arms during his airport shift change. As if blind to our intertwined fingers, she threw her arms around his waist, tears streaming down her face. That was my first encounter with Su Jinma. Zhao Minglang shot me a guarded look before discreetly releasing my hand in front of everyone. Enraged, I yanked Su Jinma away from Zhao Minglang, who immediately darkened his expression and warned me not to interfere with his efforts to comfort his colleague. Indeed, though Su Jinma was currently unemployed, Zhao Minglang insisted on referring to her as his professional equal. As captain, he'd fetch breakfast for colleagues, fix light bulbs, unclog drains, and even have me brew ginger tea during their menstrual cycles, all under the guise of workplace consideration. I couldn't bear this humiliation and had countless explosive fights with Zhao Minglang, yet every single time, he'd respond with the same line, "Jinma's suffered enough already, can't you show some compassion? You got what you wanted by marrying me, must you chain me to your waist every damn day to be satisfied?" Those once heart-wrenching scenes now leave me utterly speechless when recalled. Pressing my lips together, I opened my eyes to the approaching sea surface. Anticipating either death or rebirth, after an ear-splitting crash, the aircraft windows shattered under tremendous impact, yet miraculously, those razor-sharp fragments were carried away by the current, sparing me. My heart lurched as I saw the shards of glass caught in the surging waves hurtling toward my left side. Su Jinma had gone through great lengths to add me on WeChat, and her profile status was peculiar. "I'm on your left side, close to where your heart beats." No wonder Zhao Minglang emerged unscathed in our past life while Su Jinma died instantly. Turns out it was all because of their ridiculous vows of love. I'm a strong swimmer, but the violent impact still made me swallow plenty of water. Combined with pregnancy discomforts, I ultimately couldn't make it to shore. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a sterile hospital room. Seeing me awake, the young nurse by my bedside flashed a sweet smile. "You're still in poor condition, don't try getting up yet, I'll fetch the doctor." She hurried out of the ward, pausing to turn on the TV, perhaps worried I'd feel bored. The news broadcast was covering the plane crash from 2 days prior, yet the reporter's lips moved to announce, miraculously, 0 casualties. My heart lurched. 0 casualties. Then what am I? Maybe I'd been unconscious too long. The moment I tried to sit up, dizziness washed over me. As my vision swam, a rushing doctor steadied me. "You alright? A fishing boat rescued you at sea. Remember any emergency contacts? I'll call them for you." My lips parted hesitantly before I finally recited Zhao Minglang's number. It's not that I wanted to reach out, but truth be told, he's my last living relative in this world. The doctor held the phone, giving me a sympathetic glance before switching to speaker mode. Zhao Minglang's slightly hoarse voice came through the line. "Who's calling?" Alongside his voice, faint feminine coquetry could be heard through the phone. "Minglang Gij, my foot still hurts so much." Zhao Minglang chuckled softly, seemingly picking something up. "You little drama queen, serves you right for being so careless, let me put some ointment on it." The doctor rolled his eyes and cleared his throat pointedly, interrupting their flirtatious banter. "You're Zhao Minglang, right? Your wife in Ro is currently at Coastal Hospital." Immediately, I heard Su Jinma's piercing scream, the sound of objects crashing, and Zhao Minglang's loaded question. "The plane crash caused kerosene leakage and complete combustion, yet you're telling me in Ro survived. Who the hell are you? What do you want?" Calmly taking the phone from the increasingly pale-faced doctor, I spoke coldly. "He's the doctor who saved my life, Zhao Minglang. I'm still alive." Disappointed, Zhao Minglang's accusatory tone suddenly caught in his throat. After a long silence, he nervously lowered his voice. "And Ro, keep the news of your safety to yourself for now. I need to ask you a favor. I'll come see you later." With that, Zhao Minglang decisively ended the call. The doctors and nurses stood dumbfounded before simultaneously pointing at the television behind them. "Zhao Minglang, isn't your husband the pilot of that crashed plane? How could he abandon his pregnant wife on a doomed flight, and how dare he report to rescue teams that all passengers had evacuated safely? Exactly, how could he possibly claim everyone made it out alive? To think my husband shamelessly took the last life jacket and sealed all my chances of survival." I lowered my eyes, heart aching unbearably, fists clenched tight, yet no words would come. Seeing my distress, the nurse realized her blunder, covered her mouth, and quietly closed the hospital door. Burying my face in the sterile white sheets, I finally broke into silent sobs. That afternoon, Zhao Minglang didn't show up. Instead, it was the chief flight attendant who'd glared at me on the plane who came. She pushed the door open and took in my haggard appearance, a flicker of discomfort crossing her face before she approached with downcast eyes, depositing an assortment of random tonics by my bedside. "And Ro, Zhao Minglang is tied up at the moment. He asked me to check on you first." I gave a faint smile at her words, not even bothering to lift my eyelids, too busy accompanying Su Jinma. "Are we, three, what, in your crew's eyes? Does a pregnant woman who gave up her parachute and miscarried in a crash still rank below that former employee?" The chief stewardess kept her head lowered, not daring to meet my gaze. After a long silence, she tentatively murmured, "Anru, you know ever since Zhao Minglang became captain, I've been his chief flight attendant." watching over him feels like caring for my own younger brother, but now he's made an unforgivable mistake by concealing news of your death, because Soo Jinma wants to return to the crew. If her unauthorized boarding gets exposed now, then, the chief flight attendant's voice trailed off until it faded into silence. I looked up and stared at her face for a long moment. You knew perfectly well that Zhao Minglang broke protocol by bringing unauthorized personnel aboard, and you knew I endured all this in Soo Jinma's place, yet now, as the chief flight attendant second only to Zhao Minglang in rank, you're here asking me to pretend none of this ever happened. The once unbearably arrogant chief attendant, who'd always favored Soo Jinma over me, listened silently to my accusations, bowing her head deeply without uttering another word. She remained silent, so I simply closed my eyes to rest. This chief flight attendant was quite formidable, more like Soo Jinma and Zhao Minglang's relationship bodyguard. Ever since Soo Jinma returned heartbroken from being dumped, Zhao Minglang kept finding excuses to go out. We argued constantly. Whenever he felt annoyed or couldn't be bothered to explain, he'd shift the blame onto the chief flight attendant. I'm at Sister Zhang's place. Sister Zhang invited us to hang out, couldn't really say no. It's not just the two of us, Sister Zhang's here too. You know she's always fair. What are you worried about? Remembering Zhao Minglang's old excuses, I suddenly laughed out loud. You know, whenever Zhao Minglang went to meet Soo Jinma secretly, he'd always tell me you'd be there too. He even said you were the fairest person he knew, asking why I'd ever doubt your judgment. The usually impartial chief pursuer's eyes suddenly welled up. Anru, I'm sorry, I only ever. In the end, she couldn't bring herself to continue. The piercing ringtone shattered the heavy silence. Fumbling under the pillow, I suddenly remembered my phone had been lost in the crash. The chief steward exhaled slowly, silently grateful the phone had broken the awkward tension. The moment she pulled out her phone, her recently relaxed brows furrowed again. I didn't need to look to know it had to be Zhao Minglang calling. At my silent cue, the flight attendant pressed the answer button. Soon, Zhao Minglang's eager voice came through. Sister Zhang, how did the talk go? Did she agree? Little Molly's reinstatement request has been submitted. At this critical moment, we absolutely can't afford any slip-ups. The chief flight attendant, who usually covered for Zhao Minglang, was uncharacteristically furious with him. Zhao Minglang, you're Anru's husband. She crashed trying to save Soo Jinma, who violated protocol, and you haven't even asked about her. Zhao Minglang's cheerful voice caught in his throat as he let out a derisive snort. She's not dead, is she? Little Molly said it herself. Anru was lucky to marry me. If she's still breathing, isn't that all thanks to Molly's blessing? Besides, I just heard her speaking, sounded perfectly fine to me. What really matters now is getting our dear Molly reinstated. The purser clenched her teeth listening to Zhao Minglang's words, her hands trembling violently around her phone, yet Zhao Minglang seemed oblivious, still rambling on. Dear sis, please talk to Anru for me. Once this blows over and Jasmine gets reinstated, we'll still be the airport trio. You said it yourself, seeing me and Jasmine together makes you happy, like we're your little brother and sister-in-law. As Zhao kept pleading, the usually gentle chief flight attendant suddenly swore. Zhao Minglang, do you have even a shred of human decency left? Your wife sacrificed herself for your illicit affair, and now she's lying in a hospital bed. She nearly died. Don't you have anything to say to her? Soo Jinma's voice came through the phone, calm yet cutting. Sister Zhang, why are you yelling? We never asked for her sacrifice. Minglang and I were ready to die together. She's the one who forced that parachute on us. Besides, didn't you always say? Soo Jinma's coquettish words were abruptly cut off by the stern-faced chief flight attendant. Enough. Today I've finally seen what true ingratitude looks like. When I helped you before, it was to make you restrain yourselves, not to embolden you shameless adulterers to push your luck. After roaring these words in anger, the chief stewardess trembled as she abruptly ended the call. Before leaving, she gazed deeply at my pale, fragile form lying on the bed and bowed. I wronged you in the past, Anru, I'll report this matter impartially. I remained silent. The chief stewardess paused briefly before lowering her head and walking away. I'd just woken from a coma, my body frighteningly weak. The earlier meeting had drained what little strength I had left, and as I was about to drift off, the hospital door burst open with a violent crash. There stood my husband Zhao Minglang, shielding a tear-streaked Soo Jinma, too exhausted, physically and emotionally, to confront them. I simply let my eyelids droop slightly, seeing my unnervingly calm expression. Soo Jinma sobbed and collapsed at my feet. Anru, what exactly did I do to offend you? why did you have to be so vicious as to sabotage my reinstatement? Now everyone's laughing at me behind my back, mocking me as Mingling's mistress. Why can't you stand seeing our pure friendship? Why must you persecute someone as pitiful as me?" She shook my shoulders hysterically. Having just undergone an abortion, the violent motion made me vomit instantly. Zhao Mingling frowned at the scene and quickly shielded Su Jinma behind him. "And Ro, why must you hurt little Jasmine the moment you see her? She was living happily abroad until you interfered. She wouldn't have been abandoned if not for you. Everything happening to you now is karma for your malice. Don't think surrendering the parachute puts us in your debt. What you owe little Jasmine can never be repaid." He seemed absolutely furious, shouting at the top of his lungs. Doctors and nurses rushed in at the commotion, ignoring the two men locked in confrontation, and promptly changed my bedding instead. Only after confirming I was unharmed did the nurse turn her glare toward Zhao Mingling. "So you're Captain Zhao? Huh, the way you're carrying on, anyone would think you've got some mortal vendetta against the patient." When Ms. Amber was rescued, she had absolutely nothing on her. Tell me, did she somehow telepathically communicate with your director to sabotage Bai Lian's reinstatement? Zhao Mingling's face froze at the retort. Instead of showing remorse, he glared at me with even greater fury. "I've always known you'd play the delicate victim card to win people over, Anru. In such a short time, you've not only turned the doctors and nurses to your side, but even managed to sweet-talk our chief flight attendant into leaving. Listen here, Anru. It's all because of you that the chief flight attendant resigned in disgrace, and thanks to you, Xiamoli failed to get reinstated. You vicious woman." I could just, watching him struggle for words, I leaned back against the seat and spoke coldly. "Could just kill me, is that it? Zhao Mingling, you saw it with your own eyes. I was the only one left on that crashed plane, yet even so, heaven didn't take my life." Su Jinma rolled her eyes contemptuously at my words. "Surviving alone is no achievement. If you loved brother Mingling so much, why couldn't you protect his child? It's all because you're selfish, you only ever think of yourself." Zhao Mingling, whose face had been contorted with anger moments ago, suddenly furrowed his brows and turned to Su Jinma. "Enough, you're a woman too. Don't use children to provoke her." At these words, both Su Jinma and I instinctively turned our gaze toward Zhao Mingling. Across lifetimes, this marked the first time Zhao Mingling had ever taken my side over Su Jinma's, yet in the next moment, Zhao Mingling continued with perfect composure. "That venomous woman has slandered you out of jealousy before, and now she's sabotaged your reinstatement. Who knows what she's capable of if provoked further." Motionless, I lifted my gaze to Zhao Mingling standing guard over Su Jinma and abruptly said, "Zhao Mingling, let's get divorced." Zhao Mingling's face was filled with bewilderment at these sudden words. "Anru, what did you just say? You want a divorce? Where did this come from?" "I just needed you to cover for Xiamoli temporarily. I'll make it up to you after she gets reinstated." This is such a trivial matter. Why would it lead to divorce? Su Jinma stared at Zhao Mingling in astonishment as she listened to his words. "Brother Mingling, you said last time the only reason you wouldn't divorce was for the child's sake. Now that the child's gone and even your shrew of a wife agrees, what's gotten into you?" Uncharacteristically ignoring Su Jinma's distress, Zhao Mingling instead turned to gaze at me with eager anticipation. "Alright, stop sulking and being jealous over nothing. Sure, I've been spending more time with Jasmine lately, but there's absolutely nothing between us. Besides, the only reason I'm looking after her is to make up for the harm you've caused." This is the second time today I've heard about this so-called harm I've supposedly done to Su Jinma, yet until recently, I didn't even know this person existed. I frowned at Zhao Mingling. "If you truly believe I hurt her, let's settle this today. What exactly did I do to make you despise me so deeply?" At my challenge, Zhao Mingling's briefly relaxed brows knitted together again. "You're truly incorrigible. Still as vicious as ever. How dare you make me reopen Jasmine's wounds at this point? You're utterly hopeless." Beside Zhao Mingling, Su Jinma let a few timely tears fall. "Brother Mingling, please, I believe Sister Anru never meant it back then. Now that I'm back, even if only as a friend by your side, just feeling your care makes me happy." Before me stood two souls, one flushed with bashfulness, the other visibly moved. Without hesitation, I grabbed the glass from the table and hurled it straight at Zhao Mingling's head. "Nobody wants to hear about your little love story. Zhao Mingling, tell me right now, what exactly did I do to hurt her?" Zhao Mingling had been basking in Su Jinma's affection when my sudden interruption made him see red. "How dare you even ask? Little Jasmine was living happily abroad. How could you Photoshop those malicious images and spread rumors online? Don't you realize how devastating those kinds of photos and videos can be for a girl?" As he shouted his accusations, Su Jinma flushed crimson and lowered her head. I suddenly burst out laughing. "So Su Jinma, is this how you explained it to Zhao Minglang?" Hearing the sarcasm in my voice, Su Jinma shot me a wary glance. "What else could it be, Anru? As the wife of a wealthy merchant, how could I possibly do such things? It's your malicious intent, you're just trying to ruin my happy life." Before she could finish, I cut her off with an icy expression. "I've got to hand it to you, Su Jinma. Your lying skills are truly impressive. Ever since you wormed your way into my family, plenty of friends have been outraged on my behalf. Some even dug into your background and traced evidence to those live streams you did with black men on foreign platforms. Photos can be photoshopped, videos can be deepfaked. But are you seriously claiming I hired a body double to impersonate you in live broadcasts? If I had that kind of omnipotent power, I wouldn't be in this godforsaken mess you've landed me in." My voice turned razor-sharp instantly. Su Jinma seemed startled, clutching Zhao Minglang's sleeve as if seeking refuge behind him. "You're right, Minglang. I shouldn't have brought up the child to provoke Anru. She's completely lost it now, lashing out at everyone like a madwoman." But this time, her beloved Minglang didn't shield her as usual. Instead, he frowned at me. "Anru, are you telling me the truth?" The corners of my lips curled slightly as I spoke with absolute certainty. "For Zhao Minglang, think back on all these years between us. Have I ever lied to you?" The normally composed chief pilot's face twisted instantly with rage. He glared at Su Jinma, his voice colder than ever before. "Su Jinma, didn't you claim those were all malicious rumors spread by Enro? You even said Enro sent you threatening messages. What the hell is really going on?" Exhausted, I leaned against the hospital bed, mustering the last of my strength to speak. "That encounter at the airport was my first time seeing Su Jinma. I didn't even know you two used to date. Why would I send her threatening messages?" Su Jinma shot me a furious glare before violently shaking Zhao Minglang's arm. "You saw it yourself. The messages came from Enro's phone number. That actually took me by surprise." "Really? Let's go check at the police station then. I'd love to see how my phone number could send threatening messages without my control." Su Jinma glared at me through gritted teeth, shoving her phone right into Zhao Minglang's face. "See, it's Enro being jealous of our close relationship. All this happened because of her petty jealousy." Watching their entangled struggle, I reached out toward Zhao Minglang. Su Jinma sprang up to intercept him, but Zhao had already placed the phone in my palm. Opening the sender's info, I let out a chuckle. "So Su Jinma, this is what you call me threatening you? You just grabbed some random number to text yourself, then changed the contact name to my number. That cheap trick would only fool an idiot." Zhao Minglang stared at the contact details I'd pointed out, his face a picture of disbelief. "Su Jinma, how could you frame Enro like this? Don't you realize she's my wife?" Seeing Zhao Minglang on the verge of exploding in anger, Su Jinma shut her eyes tightly as tears began to stream down her face. "Brother Minglang, it was you who promised to wait for my return and protect me forever. Now I've come back as promised, but you've already married that Enro. I had no choice but to resort to some methods. It's only because I love you too much." Su Jinma wept pitifully, attempting to throw herself into Zhao Minglang's arms, only to be firmly pushed away with a frown. Facing Zhao Minglang's icy detachment, Su Jinma sobbed even louder. "Even if she never wronged me before, Enro personally sabotaged my reinstatement this time. You promised to always protect me. How can you just stand by while she bullies me like this?" The moment Su Jinma finished speaking, the chief flight attendant stormed into the hospital room and slapped her hard across the face. "Enough, Su Jinma, how much longer are you going to twist the truth and slander others? The reason your reinstatement failed is because I included every detail of what happened on that flight with my resignation letter. You cheating bitch who got dumped, how dare you still show no remorse after ruining someone's life like this?" As the chief flight attendant burst in unexpectedly, Zhao Minglang grabbed her arm urgently and pleaded, "Sister Zhang, tell me honestly, whose version is actually true?" The chief attendant responded by slapping Zhao across the face without hesitation. "You heartless bastard, who sacrificed themselves when you were in trouble, who brought you meals during overtime, who got pregnant with your child only to miscarry because of you. Are you actually blind, or did you just refuse to see the truth all along?" The chief steward's slap suddenly jolted Zhao Minglang back to his senses like an electric shock. He collapsed by my bedside, clutching my hand desperately while sobbing uncontrollably. And row. I was wrong. I'd just been completely blinded by Su Jinma this whole time. Darling, we can have another child, please don't leave me. Okay. I shook my head and pulled my hand free from Zhao Mingling's grasp. I saw the note you posted in the cockpit. Didn't you vow to share life and death with Su Jinma? Here's your chance, go to her. With that, I turned over and ignored the noisy group, closing my exhausted eyes. Zhao Mingling ultimately agreed to the divorce, to show his remorse toward me. He chose to leave with nothing, taking not a single penny from our home. However, due to falsifying passenger numbers which delayed rescue efforts, Zhao Mingling was swiftly investigated and dismissed. His grave misconduct cost him the captain's wings permanently. Upon hearing this news, Su Jinma, who'd been groveling for Zhao Mingling's forgiveness daily, immediately showed her true colors. I only came back because you became a captain with money and free time. Why wouldn't I take advantage? Look at you now, nothing but a drunken loser, who'd waste their time on trash like you. Zhao Mingling had just finished drowning his sorrows in alcohol when Su Jinma uttered those words. In his drunken stupor, he brutally strangled the unrequited love of his life. Before turning himself in, Zhao Mingling lingered outside my building until dawn, then staggered his way to the police station. As for how I know all this, the property management spilled everything in our group chat. Everyone be careful. Last night there was a mentally disturbed person standing downstairs the whole time, clutching stones and carving "I'm sorry" all over the walls. When I went downstairs, sure enough, I saw the walls covered in carved marks. Each stroke seemed to carry profound regret, but regret belongs to them. What belongs to me is a future brimming with endless possibilities. Story 2. In order to save my boyfriend's company, I married a mermaid. The mermaid was cold-natured and had a strong desire, and he was inferior because of his fish tail. I humiliated him countless times by saying, "Your slippery fish tail makes me sick just by looking at it, just like you." Later, I was killed by my boyfriend. To save me, the mermaid plucked out all his scales, was willing to turn into foam, and died without a whole body. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the night of my marriage to the mermaid. He concealed the inferiority and brokenness in his eyes and said, "What do you want to say again?" I raised my head to look at him. "Can I kiss your beautiful fish tail?" 1. If I remember correctly, the last person I saw before losing consciousness was Ji Huixing. He fell in a pool of blood and gave me a tragic and beautiful smile. "Xiaoyu, don't be afraid, I can save you." "Xiaoyu, if I can't save you, I'll die with you." "Xiaoyu, actually, my fish tail isn't disgusting." Ji Huixing was trying to save me. He was most afraid of pain, but he endured the excruciating pain and plucked out his scales with his own hands. He loved the sun the most, but he turned into foam in the sun. He hated me the most, but he was willing to exchange his life for mine to let me live. My back was soaked in cold sweat, and I woke up from the dream with a start. I sat up suddenly, gasping for breath. Outside the window, the sun was shining brightly, and the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. I sat on the bed, unable to distinguish between reality and the dream, and couldn't come back to my senses for a long time. It was not until I heard a knock on the door that I realized, this was not anywhere else. This was the place where I had lived for a whole year, the home of Ji Huixing and me. I stumbled out of bed and rushed to the table. I saw the date on the calendar clearly. It was 2021. This was the year I had just married Ji Huixing. Next to the calendar, there was also a wedding photo of Ji Huixing and me. I picked up the photo with trembling hands, and all the unpleasant memories came back in an instant. "Ji Huixing, don't you think you're disgusting? You're a mermaid, but you always want to live a human life. Aren't you disgusting?" Ji Huixing lowered his head, pretending not to hear my harsh words, and silently pasted the torn-up photo together again and again. After the knocking on the door behind me lasted for 5 minutes, the person knocking finally lost patience and pushed the door open. I thought it was Ji Huixing, so I quickly wiped away my tears and turned to look, but it was the nanny, Aunt Chen. Aunt Chen frowned, sized me up, and said in an unfriendly tone, "What are you going to do again? Didn't the young master already agree to you? What else do you want to do?" I didn't react for a moment. What? Aunt Chen casually threw the flower basket and dress in her arms on the sofa, gave me a disgusted look, and said, "Wasn't it you who made a fuss about going to your ex-boyfriend's opening ceremony? The young master didn't let you go, so you took medicine and cut your wrists. Now what are you pretending to be stupid for? Disgusting." I lowered my eyelashes and finally realized that I had been reborn back to that day, on this day in my previous life. Because Ji Huixing didn't let me go to Jiang Nan's opening ceremony, the two of us had a big fight, and the reason why Ji Huixing didn't let me go was that Jiang Nan would announce his relationship with my best friend at the opening ceremony. He didn't want to see me sad, but I just thought he was targeting Jiang Nan. I beat and kicked him, said all kinds of insulting words, and even cursed him to death, but even so, after I took sleeping pills and fell into a coma, Ji Huixing still didn't hesitate to pluck out his scales to save me. I woke up from my memories. Aunt Chen hadn't left yet. While tidying up the room, she complained, "What a good person the young master is. How could he meet a heartless woman like you? He really has bad luck." I picked up the flowers and the dress on the sofa and directly stuffed them into the trash can. Aunt Chen became vigilant instantly. "What are you going to do again?" I raised my head and asked, "Where is Ji Huixing?" Aunt Chen turned her head and ignored me. "I don't know." I fell silent. I knew Aunt Chen wouldn't tell me, not only her, but everyone in this villa wouldn't disclose Ji Huixing's whereabouts to me, because every time I looked for him, it was nothing good. Since no one would help me, I would find him myself. I searched room by room according to the memory of my previous life until I pushed open the door of Ji Huixing's study. A strong smell of blood rushed towards me, and I was completely stunned. I saw Ji Huixing sitting naked from the waist up, weakly in a pool of blood. His beautiful blue fish tail was glowing with faint light spots. He hung his head, pale-faced. The whole person looked dangerous and charming. I knew that it would be very painful for a mermaid to pluck out their scales, but I never thought it would be such a tragic scene in front of me. The door was suddenly pushed open by me. Ji Huixing showed impatience and said hoarsely, "Get out." I didn't move. The aura around Ji Huixing suddenly became violent. There was a blood-thirsty red light in his eyes. He slowly raised his head and said, "Are you courting death?" When he saw it was me, his fierce tone paused. He quickly turned his head and tried to cover his exposed fish tail in a flustered manner. I should be happy to see Ji Huixing alive again, but I couldn't hold back the sobs in my voice. "Ji Huixing, does it hurt?" Hearing this, the hand that Ji Huixing put on his fish tail curled slightly, and then he sneered and asked, "It has nothing to do with you. Tell me, what do you want me to do for Jiang Nan again?" I wiped away my tears and walked in. "No, don't come over." When Ji Huixing saw me lift my foot, he propped himself up and hid under the table. At the same time, he said coldly, "Get out." I paused, looked at his resistant expression, bit my lip, and said stubbornly, "I won't go out." Ji Huixing's movement froze. The sarcastic arc at the corner of his mouth became larger and larger. "Don't go out. What are you going to do here? What do you want to say again? Do you want to divorce or curse me to death?" I raised my foot and walked towards him firmly. "Ji Huixing, actually, I want to say." When Ji Huixing saw me approaching, he turned his head indifferently. His delicate features were hidden in the dim light, making it hard to see his expression. I squatted down, looked directly into his dark blue eyes without hesitation, and said softly, "Your fishtail is so beautiful, like colored glaze." As soon as the words fell, Ji Huixing, who had been tensing his jaw, was shocked and suddenly raised his head. I took the opportunity to raise my hand and hold his face, and asked sincerely, "So, can I kiss it, too?" There was a complex expression in Ji Huixing's eyes. He looked at me for a long time, gently pushed my hand away, and said with a cold face, "Sang you. I won't stop you from going to find Jiang Nan anymore. You don't have to say these insincere words to please me." I looked at my empty hand and quickly explained, "I'm telling the truth." "Enough," Ji Huixing interrupted me. "Get out." Knowing that I couldn't be too hasty, I lowered my head in disappointment, stood up, and was about to say goodbye to him. As a result, I slipped under my feet, and everything in front of me spun, and then, I fell straight and kissed his tail. Before I could even cry out in pain, Ji Huixing gasped in a big reaction. A strange blush instantly spread from his face to his neck. "Sang you. It seemed that he was going to be angry. Without saying a word, I simply kissed it a few more times, and then looked at him cautiously. "Look, I really want to kiss your tail. I'm sincere." Ji Huixing ignored me. His eyes were closed tightly, his face was flushed abnormally, and his breathing was very rapid. I reached out worriedly to check his body temperature. "Ji Huixing, your face is so red, do you have a fever?" Ji Huixing suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed my hand. The next second, I was thrown out by him mercilessly. I didn't even have time to react. The study door closed heavily in front of me. It was noon, and everything around was quiet. Only two little birds on the windowsill behind me were talking. "Quack, she kissed it." She kissed it, she kissed the tail, quack. She doesn't know that the fish tail of a male mermaid is equivalent to the second, quack. She's so brave, sang Daong, me. I knew these two birds, one was called Chi-Chi, and the other was called Baba. I asked curiously, equivalent to the second what? The two little birds looked at each other and let out a gloating quack laugh. One of the little birds flapped its wings excitedly, quack, equivalent to a man's. Before the words were spoken, the door behind me opened with a bang again. Ji Huixing had changed back to his human form. He changed into a clean white shirt and black trousers, and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, making him look cold and abstinent. There was no sign of the embarrassment just now. He strode over, didn't even look at me, and with his big, articulate hand, he pinched the heads of the two little birds and casually threw them out of the window. Soon, the two birds' howls came from outside the window. I stepped forward worriedly. Ji Huixing, are you okay? Ji Huixing turned his back to me, and his voice was hoarse, saying you, don't blame me for not reminding you. If you go now, you can still catch up with having a meal with Jiang Nan. Looking at his cold back, I gritted my teeth and rushed forward to hug his arm. Why would I have a meal with someone else? I only want to have a meal with you. After thinking about it, I added, husband. As soon as Ji Huixing heard the word husband, he suddenly pulled out his arm and distanced himself from me, saying you, here. He suppressed the tyranny in his eyes and laughed instead of getting angry. The last time you called me this, it was to pluck my scales and give them to Jiang Nan. Then what about this time? For my heart ached. I stepped forward and grabbed his hand tightly. Of course not. Aren't we husband and wife? It's normal for me to call you this. Ji Huixing still didn't believe me. His suspicious eyes swept over me. Finally, he looked at his watch. If you don't go now, you really won't be able to see Jiang Nan. Why does he always mention Jiang Nan? Actually, it's him who likes Jiang Nan, right? I stood on tiptoe, hooked my arm around his neck, and said pitifully, I didn't want to see him in the first place. I only want to see you, husband. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten anything all day. Ji Huixing lowered his eyelashes, and a trace of distress flashed in his calm eyes like a deep pool. It seemed that acting pitiful worked. I blinked and continued to look at him pitifully. I was in such a hurry to come out to see you today that the shoes I wore didn't fit. My feet are injured. It hurts so much. Hearing this, he was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed as if giving in. He squatted down and carefully held my ankle. Let me take a look. I nodded vigorously, then rested my chin in my hand and watched Ji Huixing seriously. People often say that mermaids from the deep sea are all extremely beautiful and good at bewitching people. My eyes followed Ji Huixing's long, slightly curled eyelashes all the way down, past his fair and delicate side face, and finally landed on his rosy and soft lips. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. Oh my God, what a beautiful little mermaid, what a kissable mouth. Thinking this way, I did it. I raised my hand and put my arm around his neck. Ji Huixing's eyelashes trembled. He slightly raised his eyes, and there seemed to be hooks in his eyes. He just stared at me like that. Should I kiss? Should I just kiss once? I couldn't help but lean towards his lips. Just as I was about to kiss him, my phone rang. The ambiguous atmosphere was instantly broken. A trace of disappointment flashed across Ji Huixing's face. He his eyes and pretended to be nonchalant. I was annoyed. I took out my phone and answered it without looking. You'd better tell me that the sky is falling. Before I could finish speaking, Jiang Nan's complaining voice came from the other end. Sang, did Ji Huixing agree to you? Why don't you talk? Didn't he agree to you? You can play the pity card. Make him feel sorry for you. Sang, it's all just a temporary measure. I know you think his tail is disgusting, but after it's done, we can be together forever. My heart tightened, and I quickly looked up at Ji Huixing. Ji Huixing was also staring at me. There was a terrifying gloom in his eyes. When he saw me looking at him, he sneered twice, pulled my hand away, stood up, and walked away in big steps. 3. I hung up the phone and trotted to catch up with him. Ji Huixing, it's not what you heard. Don't listen to that idiot's nonsense. Enough, sang you. Ji Huixing stopped, didn't look at me, and said coldly, his back was trembling slightly, go to him. I said I won't stop you anymore. I gritted my teeth, rushed forward, and hugged his waist. His back stiffened, and he seemed to want to break free from me. I simply threw caution to the wind, turned his face around, ripped off his glasses, and started kissing him randomly. He wanted to struggle, but he was afraid of hurting me. He gently held my waist, allowing me to cover his face with saliva. After a while, I opened my eyes and looked at Ji Huixing. His eyes were red-rimmed, his eyes were watery, his collar was messy, and he looked like he had been severely ravaged by me. I looked away guiltily, not daring to talk to him. Ji Huixing glanced at me, lowered his eyelids, and said in a low voice, "After kissing me, you're going to find him, right?" "Of course not." I suddenly turned my head, wishing I could swear to the sky. I was blind to fall in love with Jiangnan before. "Ji Huixing, I swear that from now on, you're the only one in my eyes. Let's live a good life." Ji Huixing lifted his eyelids and looked at me, then lowered his head again and laughed bitterly twice. "You've said such lies countless times." I was anxious and eager to prove it to him. "This time it's really not a lie, Ji Huixing." Ji Huixing twirled the ring on his ring finger. He didn't say anything, but obviously, he didn't believe me. Looking at his action, I suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a kind of contract in the mermaid race that would bind them together for a lifetime once concluded. In the previous life, he was so angry with me that he wanted to conclude the contract with me more than once, but I refused desperately by feigning death. Thinking of this, I seemed to have grasped at a straw. I quickly said, "Do you mermaids have some kind of contract?" Ji Huixing lowered his head and still didn't say a word. "I'm willing to conclude the contract with you and be tied to you forever. Do you believe?" "Okay." Ji Huixing looked up in a second. The words, "Do you believe me?" got stuck in my throat. The two little birds outside the window started chirping again. Quack. "Scheming, scheming, this is scheming." Quack. "She fell for it." Sang Daong fell for it. I didn't hear clearly. What did they say? "What kind of fishing?" "Fishing," Ji Huixing said without changing his expression. "They said they want to fish, me, birds want to fish, for, after dinner." Ji Huixing went straight into the bathroom. I sat on the sofa playing with my phone. Just then, Jiangnan sent me a voice message with a crying tone. "Song Song, I'm drunk. Come and pick me up." "Okay." I looked at the time. It was 11:30 at night. I sneered and replied to him, "Okay, Jiangnan, I'll come to pick you up. You must wait for me. Don't leave. Be sure to wait for me." After sending this voice message, I turned off my phone without hesitation and threw it aside. "Idiot. You'd better wait until you die." Pulling myself out of my thoughts, I suddenly felt a chill on my back. I shrank my shoulders and looked back. There stood Ji Huixing, covered in water vapor, wearing short-sleeved shirt and shorts that resembled a primary school student's uniform. He was staring at me motionlessly, with a gloomy glint in his eyes. I smiled brightly. "Gee." He coldly ignored me, retreated back into the bathroom, and slammed the door shut with a bang. I was startled. Then I thought that he must have heard the voice message I just sent and misunderstood. With this thought in mind, I quickly got up to knock on the door. Just as I reached the door, the bathroom door swung open with a whoosh. I was eager to explain. "Ji Huixing." I stopped mid-sentence, stunned. Ji Huixing had changed out of the previous short-sleeved shirt and shorts. His upper body was bare, and he only had a bath towel wrapped around his waist. His hair was dripping, and the water droplets fell onto his firm chest, rolling down along the into the bath towel. I was mesmerized, and couldn't help swallowing my saliva, forgetting what I was going to say. Ji Huixing lowered his eyes. "Are you going out?" I came back to my senses. I'm not." Ji Huixing's mood was low. He took a few steps closer. "Will you come back?" I nodded subconsciously, then quickly shook my head. "I'm not going out, Ji Huixing. I won't go to pick him up." Suddenly, Ji Huixing's legs went weak, and he leaned against me. I held him nervously. "Ji Huixing, what's wrong with you?" Ji Huixing's face was slightly pink. He blinked his eyes and looked at me innocently. "Xiaoyu, I think I stayed in the bathroom for too long and got anoxia. My head is so dizzy." "Got anoxia?" I anxiously touched his forehead. "What should we do?" "Sit down first. I'll get you a glass of water." He looked up weakly. "Okay." I rushed to pour water for Ji Huixing in a flurry. Chi-Chi and Baba beside in the living room started chirping shrilly again. Quack. "Scheming green tea. Scheming green tea with a fool." I didn't have the time to pay attention to them. Just as I turned around, I seemed to see Ji Huixing raise his foot without hesitation and kick one bird at a time. The two birds were instantly ejected out. 5. After drinking the water, Ji Huixing leaned on the sofa with his eyes closed, resting. I sat beside him, and my eyes involuntarily fell on him again. Ji Huixing's eyes were slightly closed, and he leaned back on the sofa in a relaxed manner, revealing a clear jawline and a sexy, protruding Adam's apple. Looking up, I could also see his moist and soft thin lips glistening under the light. I suddenly felt a little thirsty. This damned fish, how could he be so attractive? I shook my head vigorously and stood up to find something to do. I didn't notice at all. Behind me, Ji Huixing opened his eyes, a trace of cunning flashed in his eyes, and he stared at me with a gloomy look. 6. During these days of marriage, I had been living in the second bedroom, and my clothes and daily necessities were all piled up there. I entered the second bedroom and opened the wardrobe to pack my things. I don't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, Ji Huixing's voice came from behind. Are you taking clothes? Or going to find him? I turned around abruptly. Ji Huixing was suppressing the pain in his eyes, with a bitter smile. Oh, outside is cold, remember to wear more. After saying that, he turned around and fled into the master bedroom, closing the door behind him. 3 minutes later, I pushed open the door of the master bedroom with a pile of clothes in my arms. Hearing the sound, Ji Huixing looked up. I gasped and glared at him. Ji Huixing, come and help. There are so many things that I can hardly hold them. Ji Huixing was stunned for a second, and his eyes showed complex emotions. What are you doing? I put down the things and put my hands on my hips. Can't you tell? Of course, I'm moving into the master bedroom. As soon as I finished speaking, Ji Huixing suddenly looked up, looking at me in disbelief. I pushed the all-black clothes in the wardrobe to one side and hung all my clothes in. Ji Huixing hadn't said a word since just now, and he just followed me closely. It was quiet all around. Ji Huixing suddenly said, Xiaoyu, what is this? I glanced at the thing in his hand. Oh, it's my lip balm. Ji Huixing blinked. How do you use it? I didn't look up. How else can you use lip balm? Just apply it directly on your lips. Oh. Is it, like this? I looked up at him and happened to meet his gaze. Ji Huixing's black eyes were gloomy, and he was staring straight at me. His thin lips, which had just been applied with lip balm, were glistening like jelly. They looked so kissable. Damn it, he actually applied the lip balm so seductively. My face turned red, and I quickly looked away. You need to press your lips together. Ji Huixing replied softly. Press my lips together, like this. I couldn't help but look at him again. He blinked his eyes and stared at me steadily. Damn it, I couldn't hold it back. I gritted my teeth, suddenly leaned forward, held his face, and kissed him several times. Phew, I felt relieved. I let go and opened my eyes to look at him. Ji Huixing didn't speak. His eyes were red-rimmed, with a lipstick mark on his face. His clothes were messy, and he looked like a wronged little daughter-in-law who had been bullied but dared not speak. Seeing this, I felt embarrassed. Ji Huixing, what's wrong with you? He pursed his lips, looking lonely, and said in a low voice, mermaids from the deep sea can't be kissed casually. If you kiss them, you have to be responsible. Seeing his pitiful look, I wished I could swear. I'll be responsible. I'll definitely be responsible. I'll marry you. As soon as I said this, both of us were stunned. I was really dazed by him and said whatever came to my mind. Ji Huixing suddenly looked up. The previous pitiful look was gone, and his eyes were full of possessiveness. He stared at me as if he would tear me apart and swallow me in the next second. I cleared my throat awkwardly, raised my head, and looked at him seriously. Ji Huixing, I was blind-hearted before and did a lot of things to hurt you, but from now on, I won't. Ji Huixing, I will love you well. This time, it was his turn to lean forward and hold my face. I raised my head. Believe me, okay. Before I could finish speaking, he lowered his head and sealed my lips. This little stupid fish is quite good at kissing. Okay, open your mouth. In the heat of passion, I heard him say this in my ear. 7. I had a good dream all night. Early in the morning, I heard a commotion downstairs. I got up irritably and found that Ji Huixing, who was originally sleeping beside me, was already gone. Fragmentary scenes from last night popped up in my mind. I vaguely remembered. I hugged him tightly with all my hands and feet, regardless of his resistance. I slept well, but he seemed to have taken several cold showers. I rubbed my head, put on my slippers, and went downstairs. Only then did I find that the person making noise downstairs was Jiang Nan. As soon as Jiang Nan saw me, he rolled his eyes several times, and his tone was full of complaints, saying, why did you come out so late? Do you know how long I've been waiting for you here? What's wrong with you? Why don't you come out to greet me? And you let these snobbish nannies stop me. I was busy looking down at the big diamond ring on my ring finger, not having the time to pay attention to him. When did Ji Huixing put this ring on me? Last night. Such a big one. How much does it cost? Jiang Nan took a deep breath. His tone was full of condescension and contempt, but his face was filled with a smile, saying I've thought about it, you'd better not stay by Ji Huixing's side anymore. I've decided to take you away, you must be overjoyed, right? I looked up at Jiang Nan and said straightforwardly, overjoyed my ass. Jiang Nan raised his eyebrows triumphantly, of course I know you're overjoyed at my mom. What did you say? I folded my arms and raised my chin. Jiang Nan, I was nice to you before because you saved my life, but as of today, that life has been repaid to you, so we're even, get out of here. I'm annoyed just looking at you. When he heard the words, save my life, a trace of guilt flashed in Jiang Nan's eyes, then he suddenly raised his voice, saying if it weren't for me 2 years ago, you would have drowned in the sea, your life was given by me, my parents said that I'm your savior, and you have to repay your kindness. During the years I was adopted by the Jiang family, their whole family instilled in me the idea that I owed them, and because of Jiang Nan's act of saving my life back then, I obeyed him in everything, but this time it was different. He had killed me once, and we were even. I frowned and looked at him. Before I could speak, I felt the temperature around me drop instantly. I turned my head, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ji Huixing standing on the second floor, with his hands in his pockets. Looking at the direction of Jiang Nan and me with a gloomy expression, Jiang Nan was still talking, saying stop pretending, you should stop throwing tantrums. I know you hate Ji Huixing and want to come with me, you must be dying too, right? I turned my eyes back to Jiang Nan and raised my voice, what? How do you know that I'm almost dying of love for my husband? Jiang Nan was stunned, what are you talking about? I covered my chest, you're right. I can't live without him. I wish I could tie myself to him, I love him so much, if I don't see him for a second, my heart will stop beating. Jiang Nan frowned, I didn't say, I interrupted him, waving my hand, but there's no way, after all, my husband is tall, handsome, rich, has a good figure, and great stamina, he has countless advantages, as soon as he stands there, I can't see anyone else, he's all I can see. The temperature around gradually warmed up, and footsteps sounded behind me. Ji Huixing walked over. Behind him was his good friend, Lin Mo, who was staring at me in shock. I turned my head and pretended to be surprised, covering my mouth. Honey, when did you come? I just saw you. After a pause, I covered my face and hid in his arms. Oh my God, I'm so shy. Then did you hear all the true words I just said that couldn't be more true? Ji Huixing raised his hand and stroked my waist, his thin lips parted slightly, and his voice was hoarse and scary. Yes, I heard them all. Lin Mo beside us rubbed his arms and kept rolling his eyes. Sister, what you said just now was so fake, which fool would like to hear that? You might as well go and deceive a 3-year-old. I glared at him. Before I could speak, Ji Huixing lowered his head and rubbed the tip of my nose. His voice was coquettish. I like it so much. It sounds so good. Can you say more, Lin Mo? I grinned and nodded desperately. 8. Jiang Nan, who had been silent for a long time, forced an ugly smile. Sang, I'll go first, I'll come to see you again. After saying this, he walked out step by step, looking back reluctantly. Wait, I called out to him. At the same time, I felt the strength of Ji Huixing holding me increase suddenly. I pretended not to notice, cleared my throat, and said, Mr. Jiang, you'd better not come to see me in the future. I'm married and don't want to have too much contact with you. I don't want to make my husband suspicious, that's it. Walk faster and don't keep looking back, we're going to have dinner, and we didn't cook for you. As soon as I finished speaking, the strength on my hand became gentle instantly. Jiang Nan still wanted to say something, but Ji Huixing raised his eyes and gave him a cold look. Fear filled Jiang Nan's eyes. He immediately shut up, tucked his tail between his legs, and scurried away. 9. I turned around, accidentally. I saw Lin Mo winking at Ji Huixing non-stop. His expression seemed to be provocative. I suddenly had some bad thoughts in my mind. Ji Huixing, were you always bullied in the sea before? Ji Huixing looked at me without speaking. Lin Mo beside him seemed to have heard a joke and laughed heartily. Bully him? What nonsense are you talking about? Who would dare to touch a single hair of his? They would be cut into pieces and fed to the crocodiles. I didn't believe Lin Mo's nonsense. I only believed Ji Huixing. You're such a beautiful little mermaid, those stinky fish and shrimps in the sea must have bullied you a lot, right? No, actually. Ji Huixing raised his eyes, met my eyes full of pity, pursed his lips, and seemed to have made a certain decision. He said firmly, actually, you're right, they all bullied me. Look, I was right. Ji Huixing lowered his eyelashes. His fingers hooked my hair insecurely. His voice was low and aggrieved. I was very weak before, when I was in the sea. No one loved me, and no one was good to me. They all bullied me. Looking at Ji Huixing, who was bowing his head pitifully, like an innocent dog that had been bullied, my heart softened. I quickly got up and hugged him. Don't be afraid, you were wronged before, but it won't happen in the future. I'll protect you. Okay. Ji Huixing's voice was muffled. Then, will you leave me? Of course not. Will you abandon me? No, I won't. Will you think I'm annoying? No, I won't. Will you think I'm too clingy? No, I like being clung to by you. Hearing this, Ji Huixing rubbed against me in my arms. His furry head made my chin itchy. Xiaoyu, you're so good to me. You're the only one who's good to me in this world. I have nothing but you. Am I very pitiful? I lowered my head and saw that every strand of Ji Huixing's hair seemed to be telling of his past grievances. My heart ached, and I quickly hugged him tightly. Yes, you're so pitiful. I'm so pitiful. Can you be even better to me? Of course I can. Then you sleep with me. Ji Huixing changed his expression in a second. Me, 10, in 2 lifetimes. This was the first time I had shared a bed with Ji Huixing, with the beautiful little mermaid lying beside me. I was a little restless, lying on my back, looking at the ceiling. I listened to Ji Huixing's breathing beside me becoming more and more steady. Ji Huixing, are you asleep? His voice was hoarse, and he replied quickly, not yet. I remembered the news I saw on the internet before. I turned over to face him and asked in a low voice, Ji Huixing, I saw on the internet that mermaids have 2, you know what I mean, right? Is it true? Can I take a look? Hearing this, Ji Huixing's body stiffened violently. His breathing became rapid. After taking several deep breaths, he gritted his teeth and said, shut up and go to sleep. Oh. His breathing was not right, and I didn't dare to provoke him. I obediently turned over and closed my eyes. 20 minutes later, Ji Huixing's breathing gradually calmed down. I stuck my head out from under the quilt, blinked my eyes, and asked, so, is it true? Ji Huixing took a deep breath, saying something was wrong, very wrong. I closed my eyes and quickly got under the quilt, but it was too late. Ji Huixing gently grasped my shoulder. There was an abnormal red in his eyes. Xiaoyu. I want, what? Before I could finish speaking, he directly pulled me under him. His tone was coaxing. Be good, don't you want to know if there are 2? I'll show you. Okay, Ji Huixing. 11. Ji Huixing seemed to be tireless, vaguely. I remembered that when I fell asleep, the sky was already getting bright. In the last second before I fell asleep, I felt Ji Huixing gently kiss my forehead. His voice low and tender. I found the coral stone you wanted at the bottom of the sea. You don't want to dive into the sea, so I came ashore for you, baby. I'm really good. Try to love me wholeheartedly. Okay. I was too tired to speak, so I could only answer him in my heart. I slept for a long time and had a lot of chaotic dreams. In the dream, at the age of 16, I accidentally lost my parents and was adopted by Uncle Jiang, a good friend of my father, Jiang Nan's mother, in order to obtain my parents' property to fund her laboratory. Tried her best to brainwash me into believing that it was Jiang Nan who saved me. I stubbornly raised my head and said to Jiang Nan's mother, no, it wasn't Jiang Nan who saved me. It was a very beautiful mermaid. Yes, it was a very beautiful mermaid who saved me from the sea. It was also that mermaid who accompanied me and waited for so many days. He even invited me to go to the bottom of the sea with him. Jiang Nan's mother slapped me in the face, knocking me to the ground. What mermaid? It was Jiang Nan. Jiang Nan is your savior. You should give all the property to our family. That's not true. I refused to listen, so she kept hitting me until I was on the verge of death. You little slut, you don't have a long memory. I'll beat you until you remember. Life in the Jiang family was really tough. Jiang Nan's mother dismissed the nanny to save money and made me do all the housework. I had to wash the dishes, cook, and could only eat leftovers. I could only wear Jiang Nan's old clothes and sleep on the floor outside the door. In this family, anyone who was unhappy could beat and scold me to vent their anger. It hurt so much, really hurt. I almost cried myself to sleep every day. Mermaid from the deep sea, didn't you say you would protect me? Didn't you say you would come back to me when you found the coral stone? Why haven't you come back yet? It hurts so much. Later, before I could wait for the mermaid I was longing for, I became an experimental subject in Jiang Nan's mother's laboratory. They replaced all my blood, tampered with my memory, and locked me in the laboratory, isolated from the sun. Gradually, I began to forget what the mermaid looked like. Every time I slept for a while, his appearance became a little more blurred in my memory. I didn't want to forget him like this, so I tried to resist my sleepiness. I pricked my arm with a stolen needle, I smashed my leg with a stone. I left countless bloody wounds on my body just to remember him. However, their experiment was still successful. The beautiful mermaid in my memory became an enemy, while Jiang Nan became my savior. Those lost and unpleasant memories completely woke up. I was in so much pain that I could hardly breathe. I desperately reached out to grab something, but it was in vain, until my hand was suddenly held. I opened my eyes suddenly and met Ji Huixing's worried eyes. The dream shattered. And I returned to reality. This time, I was no longer alone. The mermaid who had supported me to live hard was no longer someone I could only see in my dreams. He was right beside me, and I could hug him as soon as I reached out. Xiaoyu, wake up, you had a nightmare. I suddenly sat up, hugged his neck tightly, and before he could react, I burst into tears in his arms. You lied. Didn't you say you would find the coral stone and come back soon? I've been waiting for you. But I can't wait for you anymore. What should I do? I can't wait for you anymore. Didn't you say you would take me to the bottom of the sea? I want to go to the bottom of the sea. I don't want to go with them. Take me to the bottom of the sea. Okay. They drew my blood. The needles were so thick. They drew it again and again. I was tortured so much that I was worse than dead. Meeting you and going to the bottom of the sea with you was the only thought that supported me to live. How could I not want to go to the bottom of the sea with you? I've been thinking about it like crazy. Ji Huixing, I'm sorry for doing so many things to hurt you before, but how should I say it? I'm sorry. I've really missed you all these years. I didn't care whether Ji Huixing could understand or not. I just wanted to tell him everything. Ji Huixing listened carefully, his eyes turning red, his body trembling. He hugged me tightly with both hands, almost wanting to crush me into his body. After a long time, my emotions gradually calmed down. I wanted to speak, but accidentally blew a snot bubble. I was embarrassed and pushed him. Ji Huixing, you let go first. Ji Huixing obediently let go of me. It was also at this time that I suddenly noticed a stone hanging around Ji Huixing's neck. The stone was blood red and glowed with a faint light. I held the stone and looked up at him. This is, Ji Huixing held my hand. It's the most beautiful coral stone at the bottom of the sea. It was the coral stone originally for you, but when I came back, you were no longer there. My nose became sour. Then what? He wiped away my tears and calmly told the story as if it were someone else's. Then, I waited for you there year after year, but I was so useless that I didn't wait for you, so, I could only come to find you. Aren't you stupid? What if I was dead? A mermaid only has one partner in their life. Ji Huixing leaned down, looked into my eyes, and promised seriously, word by word, so, if you live, I live, if you die, I will never live alone. I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms and cry again. 3 days later. The well-known Jiang character laboratory was exposed for doing illegal experiments for many years. The police quickly sealed up the laboratory. Jiang Nan's mother committed suicide by jumping off a building that night. Jiang Nan was also taken away by the police for assisting his mother in doing experiments. When I heard this news, I was teasing Chi-Chi and Babin, and Ji Huixing was sitting behind me, watching my every move intently. I don't know who was so mean-spirited that they plucked all the feathers of Chi-Chi and Babin. The two bald birds flapped their wings resentfully, repeating over and over again, quack, quack, the fish is bad, the human is good, the fish is bad, the human is good, quack, curse, curse, leave, leave. Soon, the two of them couldn't even say quack anymore. They could only stare at each other helplessly with their eyes wide open. I quickly called Ji Huixing. Ji Huixing. Chi-Chi and Babin seemed to be sick. Come and take a look. Really, hearing my call, Ji Huixing got up and walked over, standing behind me, his chest pressed against my back, and then he blew in my ear, saying slowly, "Are they sick?" I nodded vigorously, yes, yes, look, they suddenly can't talk. Ji Huixing stared at my mouth, his right hand climbed up along my waistline, and he replied absent-mindedly, "Oh, maybe they're having their period." Period. I turned my head in shock. Do birds have periods? Ji Huixing leaned over and gently pecked at my chin. Well, what did you search on the computer last night? What? I looked at Ji Huixing's smiling eyes in confusion, then I suddenly remembered what I had searched yesterday. Ji Huixing gently kissed my earlobe. mumbling, "Whether a human and a mermaid can have a baby, if you want to know, you shouldn't search on the internet." My face turned completely red. I subconsciously raised my hand to cover his mouth. Saying nervously, "Ji Huixing, stop talking." He gently pecked at my palm, looked up at me, and there seemed to be a seductive hook in his eyes. "You should try it yourself." The next second, Ji Huixing picked me up horizontally and walked towards the bedroom. "Let's go and try." Ji Huixing, it's daytime now. The main text is over. Epilogue, Ji Huixing, 1. I was different from other mermaids from the day I was born. My father was the king of the sea, and my mother was the princess of the sea. The witch said that I was a pure-blooded royal with a rare bloodline in 100 years. A mermaid like me was born to be the son of heaven, the most noble little prince in the sea. My tears would turn into pearls. My singing was the most beautiful in the entire sea area. My fish tail emitted a rare gem blue light. I lived carefree in the sea for hundreds of years until I met that human girl. It is recorded in the brief history of the sea that a mermaid only has one partner in their life. Once they are determined, it is for life, forever, and they will never betray. However, humans can have countless partners. They say that humans, in the end, rely on their conscience and love, so, mermaids must never fall in love with humans because they will only suffer losses and not be happy. I firmly believed that the brief history of the sea would not deceive me and always regarded humans as fierce beasts, but this girl in front of me didn't seem to be a fierce beast. She was more like a small flower swaying in the wind and rain. I didn't know human language, but she always seemed to be able to understand what I wanted to say. She called me little fish brother. She would take the initiative to hold my hand. She would also sing human songs to me. I lashed my tail angrily, trying to drive her away. She blinked her eyes and changed from following me closely to following me from afar. She didn't seem to be afraid of me at all and said that I was a good person. No, a good fish. I laughed. Look at her stupid look. Could she tell the difference between good and bad? I thought I should return to the sea and let her stay on the shore crying. However, I didn't want to see her cry. I'll just accompany her for a while, I said to myself. I didn't know what drove me to uncontrollably want to get close to her. Anyway, every day with her was very happy, too. Later, she said she wanted the most beautiful coral stone in the deep sea. To find it, I went through hardships and was seriously injured, but I didn't care. However, when I excitedly held that coral stone and came to the shore, she had already disappeared, just like that, from sunrise to sunset. From sunset to sunrise again. I waited for her day and night, and finally, I understood. She didn't want the coral stone I found. She didn't want me either. Bad guy, I hate you. How could you deceive a small animal? 3. I don't remember how long I waited for her. It seemed like 3 years, or maybe 6 years. Anyway, I couldn't wait for her. So, I decided to go find her. I knew that the sea witch had a potion that could turn me into a human. The witch's old face flickered in the dim light, and her voice was full of sadness. Throughout history, no fish that has fallen in love with a human has come to a good end. Your Highness, in the sea, you are a noble prince, but on the shore, you will lose everything. If she doesn't love you, you may even lose your life. Even so, do you still want to find her? I suddenly realized that this was love. I nodded firmly. The process of turning into a human was extremely painful. I exchanged my proud singing voice for a chance to speak. I drank the witch's potion and turned my tail into human legs. From then on, I could no longer sing. The witch's potion had side effects. Although I had human legs, every step I took was like stepping on a blade, and it hurt unbearably. It doesn't matter. It's all okay. I hurt so much, but when I thought that I was about to see her, it didn't seem to hurt so much. I'm the most tenacious little fish in the sea. They all say so. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm just afraid she doesn't love me. Love me, okay. I've never said this to her directly, because I'm afraid of seeing her eyes full of disgust. That feeling is more painful than the witch's potion. She not only forgot me but also hated me. However, if she had looked at me carefully, she would have known. These words of love were hidden in my gaze when I stared at her, in my uncontrollable heartbeat, and in my blushing every time. I used these ways to silently ask her more than once, love me, okay. Just try to give me a little love, okay. Xiaoyu, love me. 4. Maybe the heavens heard my prayer. Suddenly one day, the way she looked at me was no longer one of disgust and nausea but one of guilt and pity. I thought darkly, guilt could trap her, pity could be regarded as love. In this way, could I use these to lock her up for a lifetime? I admit that I'm despicable, dark, and unscrupulous, I started to package myself as even more pitiful, just to win her sympathy. Xiaoyu, can you look at me seriously this time? I'm going crazy with love for you. I'm willing to hand over my life to you. I just want to be by your side forever, regardless of life or death. Story 2. I had not even passed the 35-day mourning period after my death when my husband remarried. He cried to the outside world, saying, "It's all for the child. Without a woman at home, it's inconvenient to take care of our daughter." But then he turned around and fawned over his new wife, saying, "I love you so much. How could I bear to let you be a stepmother?" As a result, our 5-year-old daughter was sent to be fostered in a remote rural area. She drank well water when she was thirsty and ate dirt when she was hungry. In the icy and snowy weather, a lewd old bachelor was tearing at my daughter's small cotton padded jacket. "Don't scream, keep quiet, I'll take you to find your mother in a while." I was so anxious that I was going crazy, but I was powerless. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the day of the traffic accident. This time, I took the initiative to sit in the driver's seat. I left the passenger seat, which would soon be smashed to pieces by a truck, for my husband. Darling, take a nap, I'll drive." The Wu Jianxiu in front of me was looking at me tenderly, stretching out his hand. I was in a trance for a moment. He urged with a puzzled look, "Give me the car keys, they're in your bag." Wu Jianxiu walked closer to me, and his face quickly overlapped with those terrifying scenes in my mind. I realized that I had been reborn. In my previous life, we had clinched a big deal. I was so happy that I wanted to go home and see my daughter quickly, but as soon as we passed the toll station, a car accident occurred. At the moment the truck hit, Wu Jianxiu jerked the steering wheel hard to the left. He turned the passenger seat towards the truck, and the stupid me subconsciously reached out my hand to protect him. The result was that I died, and he lived a carefree life. I took out the car keys from my bag and held them tightly in my hand. "It's okay, honey, you have a rest, I'll drive today, too." Wu Jianxiu stood there, looking at me suspiciously. "You don't like driving the most, let me do it. I don't trust your driving skills." I ignored him and walked straight towards the driver's cab. He didn't know that I was a good driver. I didn't like driving, but it didn't mean I couldn't. After hesitating for a while, he opened the door of the passenger seat and got in. "Honey, drive slowly, don't use cruise control. I'm afraid you won't be able to react in case of an emergency." I suddenly wanted to tease him. "What if we have a car accident? Bah, bah, bah. Can you say something auspicious? I mean, what if I die, you'll remarry soon for sure." "Absolutely not. If you leave, I'll follow you. You know I can't live without you." These words made me feel sick, but I endured it. "Come on. There's still our daughter. It's so pitiful if she has no one to take care of her." He thought seriously for a while. "Then I'll raise our daughter and then accompany you. It's meaningless to live without you." I laughed softly. In my previous life, I had always believed his lies. We were a famous model couple. When the young girls around us were looking for a partner, they would always say, "I want to find someone like brother-in-law. He's so family-oriented and loves you so much. I'm so envious." But no one knew that the model husband who everyone thought loved me to death, would sacrifice my life to save his own at the critical moment, and would treat his own biological daughter worse than a beast. 3. In my previous life, after the car accident, I was seriously injured, while he only had a very shallow scratch. When waiting for the ambulance, I was so afraid of dying. I endured the fear in my heart and the severe pain in my body, and begged him bitterly, "Honey, save me, save me." He swore and hugged me. "Darling, I will definitely save you, I'll sell everything to save you." After that, I lost consciousness, but my soul body lingered around my body all the time. I heard the doctor say that as long as I persisted in treatment, I had a chance to recover, but the cost would be very high. If the conditions allowed, it was recommended to persist in treatment. After all, I was young and had a good foundation. I was so happy, I could live, but the next second, Wu Jianxiu made me feel like I had fallen into hell. "Can you guarantee that you can save her? What if we lose both money and the person?" The doctor frowned and explained, "We can't guarantee 100% successful treatment. We can only say that the probability of recovering to the point of being able to take care of oneself is still very high." He sneered, "Take care of oneself? What does that mean? With sequelae? You hospitals just want to cheat the common people's money. She's already so seriously injured, even if she's saved, she'll become a vegetable or be paralyzed in bed. What should I do? The person is still alive, but the money is gone. How can I live? I watched with my own eyes as he signed the consent form to give up treatment. When my girlfriends and friends came to see me, he cried and said, "The doctor said that even if she's saved, she'll be a vegetable. I know Cheyenne best. She definitely doesn't want to live without dignity. She came to me in a dream yesterday and asked me to let her go. I can't bear it. Without her, I don't want to live either." My friends comforted him instead, telling him to be strong and think about our daughter. I was filled with despair, screaming and shouting. I wanted to live. My daughter was still so young. I wanted to accompany her to grow up, but I couldn't express myself. The doctor removed my life support system and told Wu Jianxu to say goodbye to me quickly. My soul returned to my body, and my life flashed back quickly. There was only one thing I couldn't let go of. I endured the last bit of consciousness and begged him bitterly, "Please, please raise our daughter well. Tell her that her mother loves her forever." His face was covered with tears, as if he was really reluctant to part with me. He held my hand tightly. "Don't worry, honey, I will definitely raise our daughter well. You can rest assured and go." For I died. And before the 35-day mourning period was over, he complained to his buddies that he was so lonely without a woman around. A friend congratulated him, saying, "There are 3 great joys for a man: getting promoted, getting rich, and changing his wife. Not only did your wife clinch a big deal for you, but she also made room for you. Brother, you're so lucky." I thought he would remarry, but I never expected it to be so soon. I watched him talk about cars, houses, and betrothal gifts with that young woman. Finally, they talked about my daughter. The other party said, "I will never be a stepmother." He couldn't wait to promise. "Of course, we're still young. After we get married, we'll have a child of our own." So, my precious daughter became a hot potato. Wu Jianxu called his parents for help. His parents said they had no obligation to take care of his child. Yes, his parents had always been dissatisfied because I gave birth to a daughter. They were impossible to contribute money or effort. So, Wu Jianxu found a distant relative he hardly knew and sent his daughter to be fostered in the countryside. I watched my daughter cry so hard that she almost couldn't breathe. She hugged his leg and called out, "Dad, I don't want to go. I want Mom, Dad, Mom, Mom." At that moment, I finally knew that the dead could also have a broken heart. I wanted to curse him. "You shameless bastard, you don't even want your own biological daughter. You're bewitched by that fox spirit." But what was the use? I couldn't make a sound and couldn't take up a weapon. I could only be anxious. 5. Thinking of this, I stepped on the accelerator hard. Wu Jianxu, who was almost asleep, was woken up by the sense of acceleration. "Honey, why are you driving so fast? It's very dangerous. Get out quickly." "Let me drive." I ignored him and didn't reduce the force on my foot. "Don't worry, I won't die. I want to accompany my daughter to grow up, watch her go to college, get married, and watch her be happy all her life." Seeing the tears in my eyes, he was a little flustered. "What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare last night?" "Of course, we'll accompany our daughter." I smiled. Yes, I would accompany my daughter, but without you. He looked at me. "Are you nervous? Is this sweat or tears?" He reached out his hand to help me wipe it, but I subconsciously turned my head to avoid it. Then my whole body tensed up, and I held the steering wheel tightly with both hands, because I saw it, right in front. The truck that had taken my life in my previous life was roaring towards me. 6. There was a loud bang and a violent impact. I was dizzy. I had an intuition that the impact force was even stronger than in my previous life. After a while, I woke up from the dizziness. There was a lot of noise around. One of Wu Jianxu's hands was resting on the edge of the seat, and blood had stained his entire sleeve red. The situation was exactly the opposite of my previous life. This time, he was lying on the ambulance with blood all over his face. He was moaning softly through his teeth. I couldn't hear clearly, but from his lip shape, I knew he was saying, "Honey, save me." I held his hand tightly and pretended to be very anxious in front of the nurse. "Honey, hold on. I will save you no matter what." I lowered my head, pressed my face against his, and whispered in his ear, "I won't let you die. I'll make you wish you were dead." After arriving at the hospital, the traffic police quickly found me. When investigating the accident in my previous life, the police were also very puzzled. The subconscious reaction of most people is to turn the steering wheel to the right. If you turn the steering wheel to the right, maybe nothing will happen. Yes. In my previous life, if he had turned the steering wheel to the right, I wouldn't have died, but the probability of him getting injured would have been greater. It can only be said that people are all selfish. At the critical moment, they sacrifice their lover's life to save their own. I pretended to be very scared and couldn't say a word for a long time. The traffic police patted me on the shoulder to comfort me. Don't be too sad. The other party is fully responsible, there's insurance. Try your best to treat him. 7. At this time, the emergency doctor asked me, he's seriously injured, there's a sign of intracranial hemorrhage, it's hard to say whether he can wake up, the family members should be mentally prepared. I told the doctor firmly, treat him with all your might, letting him die easily was too good for him. After settling things here, I immediately called my best friend, Xiaoying. In my previous life, even after I died, Xiaoying had always cared about my daughter. After going to my house several times and not seeing Nini, Xiaoying slapped the table with Wu Jianxiu. Where on earth have you sent Du Yan's child? I sent her to my parents' house. What's wrong? Do I have to report to you where my daughter goes? Who the hell are you? You'd better have some humanity. What's wrong with me? I'm only in my 30s. Am I supposed to be a bachelor for Du Yan for the rest of my life? Is that what you call humanity? Are you being reasonable? At that time, my soul body could move around freely, watching Nini suffer in the village. I wanted to ask my best friend for help several times, but unfortunately, she couldn't see me. But I once saw her crying while looking at our group photo in the dead of night, so, after being reborn, the first person I thought of was her. I could trust her 100%. She rushed to the hospital immediately after receiving the news. She thought I would be heartbroken, but unexpectedly, I was so calm. What I'm going to say next may be hard for you to accept, but you must believe me. My best friend was in the financial industry, and her husband was a lawyer. I needed their help to sell the company's accounts and transfer the marital property. Wu Jianxiu would eventually die. After his death, the first heirs to his estate were my child and his parents, and I wouldn't leave a single cent to his parents. 8. Wu Jianxiu was admitted to the ICU, and then I notified his parents. After his parents arrived and heard about my decision to treat him with all my might, they were very gratified. They cried and said, Xiu didn't treat you well for nothing, you take good care of him. I believe Xiu will definitely get better. Although my mother-in-law treated me badly, she was wholeheartedly devoted to her son. As a mother myself, I should have sympathized with her. But thinking that my daughter had suffered so much because of her inaction, I was filled with hatred. I picked up my bag. Nini is still young, she can't be alone at night, so, I'll leave the hospital to you. My mother-in-law looked at me in shock. I'm so old, you want me to stay up all night to take care of him? The ICU doesn't need someone to accompany him all the time. Of course, Wu Jianxiu may die at any time. If you're not worried about not seeing him for the last time, you can leave. She slumped in the chair. With a tragic and broken expression, of course, she wouldn't be at ease. Wu Jianxiu was the apple of her eye, the most precious thing to her. Even if it meant exhausting herself to death, she would wait anxiously at the door, and I asked Xiaoying to drive me home as fast as possible to see my daughter. When my daughter saw me, she ran towards me like a little swallow. She threw herself into my arms and called me Mom sweetly. My heart melted. I held her tightly, with tears streaming down my face. I couldn't speak. I could only promise in my heart, don't be afraid, baby, Mom is back. This time, Mom will accompany you to grow up well. 9. At night, my daughter fell asleep. I held her and kept looking at her. I was reluctant to sleep, and even reluctant to blink. Thinking of my daughter's experience in my previous life, I wished I could immediately go and strangle Wu Jianxiu. After taking several deep breaths, I managed to calm down. I couldn't be hasty. There were still many accounts to be settled and people to be avenged. In my previous life, Wu Jianxiu entrusted our daughter to a distant relative named Wu Shoulian. They agreed on a monthly living expense of 2,000 yuan. Wu Shoulian took out 1,800 yuan to play mahjong. The remaining 200 yuan was only enough to feed my daughter noodles or make some thin porridge with pickles. At first, my daughter couldn't eat it. She simply starved my daughter for 3 days. You little brat, you're so spoiled, you're still being picky, your mother is dead, and your father doesn't want you either. You think you're a little princess here. If you have the ability, don't eat. My daughter was so hungry that she picked up the soil clods on the ground and put them in her mouth. My heart ached so much that I was almost crazy. My daughter had never suffered like this before. When I was alive, the millet porridge was pureed and used to make dough, and then made into various small steamed buns in the shapes of animals. My daughter had small leather shoes and small skirts that were different every season. Her hair was decorated with beautiful bows. She was the most beautiful little princess in the kindergarten. But now, she was always in the mahjong parlor with Wu Sholian. The people around her smoking made her cough. When she said she was thirsty, that woman waved her hand, take a ladle and go outside to find water to drink. I watched my daughter, in the cold weather, pick up a gourd, made ladle and scoop up raw water from the water tank and take a sip. The water was so cold that it made her cough even more severely. I really wanted to hug her. Her little face was flushed, she seemed to have a fever. But no one cared at all. Sometimes Wu Sholian remembered to make a bowl of instant noodles for her. If she didn't remember, my daughter would have to endure hunger. Once, unable to stand my daughter's loud crying, Wu Sholian slapped her in the face. Cry, cry, cry. If it weren't for you, this little jinx, could I have lost so much money today? A neighbor said, look at how hungry you've made the child. Her father gave you money. Why don't you make something for the child to eat? The little money her father gave is not enough for anything, and he still wants me to take care of such a young child. Do you know how much a nursery worker makes in the city? At least 8,000 yuan. He wants to send me away with 2,000 yuan. The neighbor laughed. Hey, little girl, your parents don't want you anymore. You'll grow up in this village from now on. I'll find you a husband, when you grow up. Don't forget my kindness to you. Share half of the bride price with me, okay? The people around burst into laughter. Someone else said, I think this girl looks pretty good. Why not marry her to my family? She can get married at 18, live with us first. Once she gives birth to a son, we'll register when she reaches the legal age. What if she gives birth to a daughter? If she gives birth to a daughter, that won't do. If she gives birth to a daughter, you'll have to leave in a month, 30 days exactly. The few women around burst into another round of laughter. My daughter looked around blankly and then lowered her head, murmuring Dad, Mom softly. My heart felt like it was being pricked by needles. I wished I could rush up and tear their mouths apart. Wu Sholian was very impatient. Stop talking about your parents. Your mother is a short-lived ghost, and your father is not a good person either. The people around clicked their tongues in pity. Once there's a stepmother, there will be a stepfather. That's really true. Yes, that's really true. It's all my fault, all my fault. I died without a care, but I hurt my daughter. 10. At that time, I was by her side every day. I wanted to say to her, Nini, don't be afraid, Mom is always here, watching you. I just can't kiss you or hug you, but Mom is always with you. Please be strong. When you grow up a bit, there won't be so many people bullying you. I prayed that as time passed, my girlfriends and friends would eventually notice something was wrong and perhaps come to rescue my daughter. But I watched helplessly as one midnight, an old bachelor in the village carried my daughter away. My daughter struggled and screamed. He covered her mouth with his hand. Girl, don't scream. Your mother is right over there. As long as you keep quiet, I'll take you to find her. My daughter stopped screaming. The old bachelor was tearing at my daughter's small cotton padded jacket, and she didn't make a sound. I knew she missed her mother. I knew how much she missed me. The look of expectation in her eyes burned through me. I wanted to shout, scream, baby, call for help, let go of my daughter. I was so anxious that I was going crazy, but I was powerless. Suddenly, a white light flashed, and I woke up, covered in cold sweat. 11. Wu Jianxu's condition was not optimistic. He had been on a ventilator for several days but still had no spontaneous breathing. The doctor said that his trachea needed to be incised and once again told me that the rescue was actually meaningless. His parents were in a panic and began to waver, but I firmly said, cut it, because I knew that his soul body was hovering nearby, just like me in my previous life. I wanted him to witness his own suffering with his own eyes. After the tracheotomy, even if he regained consciousness, he could no longer speak. The day he was transferred out of the ICU, I saw him for the first time. His head was shaved bald, a nasogastric tube was inserted into his nose, his trachea was cut open, and a urinary catheter was inserted under his body. He was so thin that he was just skin and bones. I called him softly, and he slowly opened his eyes. The doctor said it was already a miracle that he had regained consciousness, but he was completely paralyzed and couldn't move. My mother-in-law cried heart-rendingly in distress, but I couldn't help but want to laugh. It was just what I wanted. After calming down, my mother-in-law started to formally discuss with me the issue of Wu Jianxu's care. I firmly stated that I had to take care of the child and had no time. My mother-in-law, who had always maintained a harmonious facade, cursed at me. You're his wife. If you don't take care of him, who will? You always use the child as an excuse. What's the use of putting so much effort into a little girl? If Shushu dies, our Wu family will be without an heir. You take good care of him. If he recovers, you can still have another child." I almost burst out laughing. Even to this day, they were still dreaming of having a grandson. I suddenly lifted the quilt off Wu Jianxiu, revealing his injured lower body. "I'm sorry, Mom, his thing for passing on the family line was damaged. I told the doctor that saving his life was the most important thing, so we cut it off." My mother-in-law stared blankly at Wu Jianxiu's lower body, her eyes rolled up, and she fainted on the spot. 12. On the day of his discharge, I hired a private ambulance and directly sent Wu Jianxiu to my mother-in-law's house. My mother-in-law refused to open the door. I asked the workers to remove the stretcher, carried Wu Jianxiu and put him on the ground in front of my mother-in-law's door. Then turned around and left. No mother could bear to see her son suffer so much. My mother-in-law wiped her tears, cursed at me, and took care of her son day and night. But it wasn't long before I heard that the old couple was so exhausted that they could hardly straighten their backs. Taking care of a paralyzed person requires turning him over, patting his back, suctioning phlegm, and feeding liquid food every day. They couldn't sleep all night. The next time I saw my father-in-law and mother-in-law, the old man and the old woman had become visibly thinner, with sunken eye sockets. My mother-in-law, who had always been so arrogant, begged me pitifully, "Shayan, you're young after all. Please take care of Shushu. We really can't take it anymore. Mom will pay the expenses, as long as you can take over." I lowered my head and thought for a while. "Okay, Dad, Mom. But I have one condition." My mother-in-law's eyes lit up. "What condition?" "I want you to transfer the ownership of this house to Nini." As expected, the old woman flew into a rage. "So you've been eyeing my money?" I smiled. "Don't say it like that. You only have Nini as your granddaughter. Isn't it normal to leave the house to her?" I knew that my father-in-law was a person who always favored his younger brother and had deeply ingrained patriarchal ideas. My father-in-law had a nephew, and his nephew had also given birth to a son. I was worried that after they passed away, they might leave their inheritance to the boys in the Wu family. They were old, sparing their lives was already my mercy, but I had to fight for the greatest rights for Nini. 13. After a few days of deadlock, my father-in-law and mother-in-law agreed. After completing the transfer procedures, I took Wu Jianxiu away. He squinted at me, whining and groaning. It seemed like he was saying, "Darling, you're the best. I knew you wouldn't leave me alone." I rented a dilapidated house in a community 20 kilometers away from home and settled Wu Jianxiu there. Then, relying on my memories from my previous life, I managed to find Wu Sholian in the countryside. I told her that I planned to hire her long-term, paying her 4,000 yuan a month to take care of Wu Jianxiu for me. That greedy woman was overjoyed and rushed here by train overnight. At night, I held my daughter in my arms and told her the story of the big bad wolf and the big bad wolf. She raised her little face innocently. "Mom, you told it wrong. It's the story of the big bad wolf and the little white rabbit." I kissed her with a smile. "How can the little white rabbit defeat the big bad wolf?" The best way to deal with a bad person is to find another bad person. A greedy and vicious gambler like Wu Sholian was the most suitable person to take care of Wu Jianxiu. 14. Wu Sholian herself was even more disgusting than I remembered in my previous life. She had a mouthful of yellow teeth and a strong smell of tobacco on her body. Afraid that I would dislike her, she fawned on me, saying, "Younger sister, we rural people don't pay much attention to those things, but I'm very careful when I work. Just leave my big cousin to me, don't worry." I endured the nausea and held the hand she stretched out. "Sister, I'm entrusting my husband to you completely. I'm busy with work, and the child is still young. I can't come often. Please take more trouble." I carefully explained to her the daily care process for Wu Jianxiu. Apparently, she didn't remember, she didn't ask, and I didn't say it a second time. After all, she could take care of him however she wanted. After that, whenever I had time, I would enjoy the miserable situation of Wu Jianxiu through the monitor. Wu Jianxiu's face was distorted, and he made ah-ah sounds. Wu Sholian was sound asleep beside him. Woken up by his ah-ah sounds, she slapped him hard. "Who the hell are you calling? I lost all my money playing cards. It's all your fault, you're always whining. If you make a sound again, I'll poison you down with a whole bottle of medicine." Wu Jianxiu really didn't dare to make a sound. Not long after, the sound of slaps came from the monitor again. "Pa pa pa, you peed again. Even though you're like this, it doesn't stop you from peeing. Stop drinking water. You pee right after you drink, and you shit right after you eat. You're such a nuisance. There were banging sounds on the monitor. That was the sound of Wu Shilian venting her dissatisfaction. At first, afraid that I would see, Wu Shilian always pinched him. She pinched the inside of Wu Jianshu's thighs and the inside of his arms until they were red and purple. Last time, I deliberately lifted the quilt. She was so scared that she quickly explained, my big cousin's body always turns blue like this. Maybe he's been lying down for too long. I quickly said that it wasn't her fault. It was normal for bed-ridden patients to have some problems. I could understand. 15. Because of my indulgence, Wu Shilian became even more unscrupulous. Sometimes I even wanted to applaud her. She was really ruthless. When she didn't want to clean up the excrement and urine, she wouldn't give Wu Jianshu anything to eat or drink. In 2 days, Wu Jianshu was dehydrated and on the verge of death. I quickly went there once. After all, it wouldn't be fun if he died too quickly. Wu Shilian was lazy and played online mahjong all day long. She didn't turn Wu Jianshu over. In less than a week, Wu Jianshu developed bedsores. Wu Jianshu was in so much pain that he howled through the incised trachea. His voice was distorted and filled with anger. This only brought him another round of slaps, but after all, I'm a kind-hearted person. I went there again to bring some medicine for Wu Jianshu. Looking at Wu Jianshu's emaciated face, I called out to him, "Honey, when will you get better?" "I'm almost at the end of my rope." Wu Jianshu's face was distorted, and tears welled up in his eyes and fell in strings. He looked so pitiful. I endured the nausea and got close to him. After all, Wu Shilian hadn't bathed him for a month. The excrement and urine on his body mixed together, giving off a stench. "Honey, does the bedsores feel good?" "Now it's only grade 2, not painful enough. It said that this disease will rot to the bone and make people want to commit suicide, but I can't bear to let you die. You haven't suffered enough yet." After saying that, I left. During this period, my mother-in-law went to see Wu Jianshu twice. When she saw her son's miserable state, less often. Maybe it was out of sight, out of mind, or maybe, as the rumors said, she had depression. I really didn't have the time to find out, because I had more important things to do. 16. On the weekend, I wore a brand name casual outfit and came to an internet cafe. Xiaoying gave me the information that Wu Jianshu's few good-for-nothing friends often came here recently. As soon as I entered the door, I saw him, Chen Yang. In my previous life, it was he who introduced that woman to Wu Jianshu and also fanned the flames to persuade Wu Jianshu to send Nini away. Brother Su, Xiaotao is so nice. If you miss her, you won't be able to find someone like her again. Can you let a big girl be a stepmother? Then you can find a divorced woman? Both of them have children and live together. Don't dislike each other. Seeing that Wu Jianshu was wavering, he continued to incite him. It's just a daughter. Let Xiaotao give you another one. Have a son. My brother Su is so amazing. He'll definitely get her pregnant in one go. You have to have your own child to have a stable family. The stupid Wu Jianshu actually believed it and treated that woman like a treasure. In fact, he became a cheap father. Qin Yang and Xiaotao had long been having an affair, but both of them were idle and couldn't even support themselves. Fortunately, Wu Jianshu became the sucker, so he was also to blame for harming my daughter. How could I let him go? 17. I flashed in front of him, and he recognized me. Sure enough, he came over obsequiously and called me sister-in-law, saying, "How's my brother? I've been really busy recently and haven't had the time to visit him." I played with the curls by my ear and said sadly, "Your brother is definitely not going to make it. He's just hanging on by a thread. Alas, this is my brother's fate." Sister-in-law, you've done your best. Everyone in our circle knows your deep affection for my brother. Even though he's like that, you still insist on not giving up. I often tell my buddies that whoever marries you is really lucky. His arm touched mine intentionally or unintentionally. I didn't dodge and gave him a charming smile, but without a man by my side, it's really hard for me. A woman. 7 days later, I looked at the messages on my phone. They were all from Qin Yang. On average, he sent 10 messages, and I replied to one. I kept him on tenterhooks. Finally, he couldn't hold it in and sent me a long essay. The general meaning was that he had admired me for a long time, but because I was his buddy's wife, he couldn't express his feelings. Now he wanted to take care of our mother-daughter. I smiled. The fish had taken the bait. 18. I occasionally had dinner with Chin Yang, maintaining a lukewarm and ambiguous relationship with him. I often talked to him about my company's business and showed off my wealth. By the way, after a few interactions, he was so eager that he became more and more attentive to me. I finally gave him a little benefit. That day, I opened my heart to him and said that the company was short of a trustworthy person who knew the inside story. He immediately volunteered. I shook my head. It has to be a woman, with your brother lying there. If I have a man by my side, people will talk. He immediately said that he had a sister who was just right, so I met Su Taotao. As soon as Su Taotao came, I took the initiative to hold her hand, and gave Chin Yang an ambiguous look. Taotao, you were introduced by Chin Yang. So you're like family. My company is short of a cashier. I really don't feel at ease using an outsider. You come. She looked a little dilemma. Sister, but I don't know how. It doesn't matter if you don't know. I'll have someone teach you. You can earn money and learn skills in my company. I glanced at Chin Yang and said considerately, we women still have to have our own skills to make a living. Don't you think so? She visited my company enviously. Yeah. I wish I could be as capable as you, sister. Someday, you're Chin Yang's sister. We're all family. Chin Yang immediately came up to me and put his arm around my waist. I swatted his hand away playfully. Naughty. With a quick turn, I didn't miss the triumphant glances they exchanged. 19. I strung Chin Yang along for 2 months, spending money on him, flirting with him, but never letting him touch me. He was so impatient that he kept asking me how we could take our relationship to the next level. I pouted at him. Wu Jianxiu is still alive. I'm a traditional woman. I won't have a physical relationship with you unless we get married. His eyes lit up at the mention of marriage. After all, getting married meant sharing wealth together, which was much more reliable than just dating. He immediately expressed his stance. I'm also a traditional man. I can't wait to be with you forever. I looked at him with a longing expression, then feigned regret. You'd better not wait for me. Your brother Su still has a breath left. It's really hard to say when that breath will be gone. It could be a year or 2, or maybe 3 or 5 years. You know, there are cases of vegetative patients waking up more than 20 years later on the internet. Maybe he'll suddenly get better someday. He was taken aback, and a glint of malice flashed in his eyes. Sure enough, not long after, he proposed to go and see his brother Su. I naturally agreed, pleading busyness. I gave him the address and told him to go by himself. 20. I was a bit surprised that Wu Jianxiu died so quickly. I thought Chin Yang would come up with some other methods, but I overestimated him. When I received the news of Wu Jianxiu's death, Chin Yang was overjoyed and offered to help me with the funeral arrangements. My in-laws cried until they fainted and cursed me as a venomous woman. I didn't care at all. I directly asked the doctor for an autopsy. Chin Yang froze on the spot, looking flustered. Is it necessary? He was already so seriously ill. He was going to die sooner or later. What's the point of an autopsy? I looked at him and smiled. Even if he was a paralytic, he was still alive. If you kill him, you have to pay with your life. Chin Yang's face turned deathly pale. He took several steps back and then turned around and ran. He hadn't run 200 meters before he was caught by the arriving police. Of course, this was my doing. As soon as Wu Jianxiu passed away, I took the surveillance video to the police. In the video, it was clear that when Chin Yang went to see Wu Jianxiu, he brought a bottle of mineral water. After that, he chatted and laughed with Wu Shilian for a long time in whispers. Wu Shilian used a syringe to feed the water Chin Yang brought to Wu Jianxiu. During this process, Wu Shilian even said, if this were poison, it would be a relief for him. Chin Yang laughed loudly. That's right. He and I are good buddies. I'm just giving him a hand and sending him on his way. In the video, Wu Jianxiu could be seen screaming in horror. It turned out that a person's will to survive could be so strong. Even though he was no longer human-like, he still didn't want to die. Unfortunately, there was no way out. Chin Yang had fed him paraquat, 100 milliliters, a short death dose. After the autopsy results came out, I sued both Chin Yang and Wu Shilian in court. 21. Chin Yang wasn't stupid. He immediately realized that he had been set up by me. In court, he insisted that he was in a relationship with me and that he had killed Wu Jianxiu at my instigation. I handed over the long chat records between Chin Yang and me to the police. From the chat records, it could be seen that I rarely replied to him, and he had been pestering me. I had repeatedly stated that I had a husband and that I couldn't have anything to do with him, but he had been persistently pursuing me. At the same time, The staff of my company could also testify. Moreover, my insistence on treating Wu Jianxu before was also regarded as a symbol of our good marital relationship. All the ambiguous words I had said to him were spoken secretly when only the two of us were together. He had no evidence. I never expected that my father-in-law and mother-in-law would stand up as witnesses in court. They testified against me for abusing Wu Jianxu. This bitch must have someone else outside. She abused my son and asked us for the house. She's not a good person. I just looked at them innocently. I presented Wu Jianxu's WeChat chat records to the judge. In the records, there were all kinds of scolding from my mother-in-law towards me. Right after I gave birth, my mother-in-law said, I asked a fortune teller about Du Yan. The master said that with a table-sized family, she needs to give birth to 4 daughters before she can have a son. You should divorce her quickly. When the child was less than 100 days old, she's had enough rest. The Zhang family's daughter-in-law had 2 sons in 3 years, both boys. Du Yan thinks she's a princess. Why doesn't she hurry up and give the Wu family a son? Your wife is greedy and lazy. When I went there, she only cooked 6 dishes for me. Doesn't she know that 8 means prosperity and 10 means perfection? She has no manners. Son, if you really don't want to divorce, Mom will find you a woman who can give birth to a son. After she gives birth, bring the child back to raise. If Du Yan dares to say no, kick her out. The judge frowned while reading, and my mother-in-law's face turned green and white. Actually, I had seen these records a long time ago, but at that time, Wu Jianxu and I had a good relationship. For the harmony of the family, I endured it all. Now that the old woman was actually accusing me, it was just the right time to let everyone see her true face. After Wu Jianxu was cremated, the old woman held on to her last bit of strength and fought me for the ashes. She wanted to send Wu Jianxu to the family cemetery to be laid to rest. When I heard this, I wasn't too happy. Why should he be laid to rest in peace? I directly lifted the lid and poured the ashes into the trash can of a roadside restaurant. Let the stray dogs in this area get some calcium supplements. It could be considered his merit. The old woman was like a deflated balloon. She slumped by the trash can, shedding tears as she picked up the ashes bit by bit. I suddenly felt a bit sorry for her. It was so pitiful, this love of a mother for her son. But in my previous life, who pitted me? Who pitted my daughter? 22. In the end, Qin Yang was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide in the first instance trial. Wu Shoulian, as an accomplice, was sentenced to 17 years and 8 months. Since Qin Yang was arrested, Tao Tao had been very uneasy. Qin Yang's creditors all came to her to ask for money. She visibly became haggard. I deliberately asked the finance department to relax the supervision of her. As a cashier, she could access a large amount of the company's funds. The chief accountant told her the successful cases of cashiers embezzling public funds every now and then. Finally, when handling a sum of funds, she made a move. At first, she just embezzled public funds to buy financial products and earn some interest. She got away with it once or twice, and her courage got bigger and bigger. Finally, when she embezzled 12 million yuan of the company's funds, I called the police. After all, if she embezzled a small amount, she would only be sentenced to 3 or 2 years, which really wouldn't relieve my hatred. In the end, Su Tao Tao embezzled a particularly large amount of public funds and was sentenced to 17 years. It was just right for her to go in and keep her sister Wu company. That was quite good. 23. Everything had finally come to an end, and my company's business was booming. I became a well-known female entrepreneur in the city. At the end of the year, when being interviewed by a magazine, the host asked me, "In the past, the label everyone gave you was strong. I want to know what supported you to get through so many hardships." I thought for a while and answered firmly, "My daughter." You must have heard that saying, a child is both a weakness and an armor. Because of her, I became invincible. He smiled and nodded. Then may I ask what your wish is for the new year? Without hesitation, I said, I have only one wish, not just for this year, but for every year and every day in the future.